So this is not a professional production. I'm filming my computer screen. So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to go through my antique Civil War and 1870s era photo albums and try to date the photos that are in there. Most of them are dated, unmarked. So okay, so what we're looking at right now is the 1860s era fashions and hairstyles. So what I do notice is in the 1860s, ladies' dresses were very wide across, almost bell-shaped. Their hair was always like parted down the center, as you can see here. And their hair was pretty simple. There was nothing spectacular about their hairstyles. Now we're getting into the 1870s, right over here. But this is actually, no, 1900. Ah, interesting. See, you learn a new thing every day. Well, here is the 1860s again. Again with the wide skirts, as you can see here. Wide skirts and really elaborate sleeves, wide skirts, hair parted down the center. And women wore a lot of headdresses, little scarves that would hang down the back of their hair. Older women and mature women used to wear bonnets that tied under the chin. Younger women didn't have hats that tied under the chin like that. So that's quite interesting. Now we're going to go into another decade. We're going to go into the 1870s, which was quite interesting. So the 1870s hairstyles are my favorite. And they actually required fake hair to get the look that they were looking for. Here's some hair switches and hair pieces that a lady would pin to her hair. Here's some ads for them. They would pin them into the hair to get a bouffant, puffed up look. Here's some more ads. And you can see how elaborate their hairstyles were. Very, very cool. And we see different hair pieces being sold during that time. And here's the styles of the 1870s. So you would have bangs now. Instead of hair parted down the center and flat on top, you would also have what was known as frizzled bangs. And frizzy bangs were all the rage. Frizzier hairstyles. And then big braided pompadours. Really large hair. All right, so now we're going to look at the photos in my book, and we're going to try to guess what era of time these photos came from. And again, the women of the 1860s had wider skirts on the bottom. Towards the 1870s, the skirts got very narrow and less full, and you can tell by that. So let's check it out. You can tell an 1860s era book by most of them were leather bound. And they had these really fancy Gothic patterns that were raised in leather. Sometimes the edges of the pages were gilded in gold. All going around. This one is not. And they would have two clips. Now they're missing. But they would have two clips on the edge of the book that would keep the book shut. So now we're going to go in here and we're going to check out. Now this is English. This actually is an English book. So we're not going to see very many Civil War women because the Civil War wasn't going on in England, but this is the Civil War era. All right, so let's delve into this, and we have names, by the way, and let's check it out. All right, so we have now these books are very fragile. I'm being very careful. I have gloves on because when you handle these old photos, you don't want your finger oils to get on the paper because it'll make it disintegrate faster. So we have D.H. Scott, age 9. Very interesting. All right, let's go. Now I'm more interested in the ladies because the ladies and their fashion fascinate me. So we have this one dated September 1870. And let's pull a close-up of that. And there you see the hairstyle is braided on top and different from the 1860s hairstyles. Now, if you notice, her cheeks look rouged almost. And the crazy thing is they would charge extra for that to give it a little bit of a color. Now, this one is definitely Mrs. Leach, by the way. Mrs. Leach is definitely an 1860s lady. And look at her beautiful black Chantilly lace dress that's bell-shaped. She's wearing gloves. Look at that. And she has a book to show that she's actually educated. And if you look, you see that thing that she's stretching out that goes across her hand up into the book? That was a pencil or a pen that was hanging from a chain. And she's showing that she knew how to write. And by showing the book, she's showing that she knew how to read, which is really quite interesting. She's showing that she's not some poor lady that does housework all day, that she was actually educated. And that is quite cool. All right. So now let's check out the rest of the people in this book. All right. So we have on the left, we have this really interesting looking woman. And she's wearing an 1860s style dress, as you can see here. And over here we have Lady Bentinck, or Bentinck. I can't even pronounce it. But Lady Bentinck is actually, she was the relative of Queen Victoria. And I don't know how that got in this book, but apparently she's here. And let's check her out. And again, she's got a really beautiful 1860s era dress. And that's really quite interesting. All right, let's keep going. And now we have Lady Bentinck again. So here we go with that big bell-shaped dress. She's quite wealthy, as you can see here. And she definitely is an aristocratic lady. Without a doubt. Now, who knows who this is? This is probably Lord Fauntleroy. I have no clue. But he looks pretty aristocratic himself. Almost like an Ebenezer Scrooge type of dude. I don't know. Maybe he was in the movie? So we have a child here wearing stockings. And little boys generally wore like little knicker pants, short at the knee, with little stockings. And he has a boater's hat, it appears. And he doesn't look too happy. Nobody looked too happy in these photos. We have a mother and child. And they are wearing Civil War era time frame dresses. And this is actually a really, really sweet picture of a mother and a child. And the kid looks sort of pissed off. I don't know if you can see that. But the look on that kid's face is like, when is this picture going to be over? Most people didn't smile in these photos because it took so long to take a photo. They had to stand in that same pose for so long that they were cranky by the time the camera snapped the picture. Look at that. That's like a taffeta with an iridescent type of pattern on it. And that is really cool. And so we have this lady here. Again, a lady of the 1860s. Quite interesting. And we have a gentleman over here. He has his walking stick. And you can tell with his top hat. You could tell these people were definitely not poor people. Definitely not. And I think this is a picture of the 1870s. Now we have two 1860s photos. And we have this lady. And she's got a really interesting hat. Check that hat out. Look at that. Really cool. And again, she's showing that she's an older woman. She has her bonnet tied under her chin. And now we have this lady over here with her beautiful gown. And she's holding onto a chair. This is a nice pose. And again, 1860s. And look at the ringlet curls. That is very cool. Now, a lot of these books had different decades in there. You'd see 1860s pictures mixed in with 1870s pictures. It's because with any photo album, you add things in there over the years. So we have an 1860s dress here for sure, with those big sleeves that are wide and puffy. And she's got this beautiful chain around her neck. And the hair parted down the center. Really cool. And again, we have an 1860s gown here with those big giant pagoda sleeves and the hair parted down the center. It's amazing how these books last this long. So we have a child on the right, and girls used to wear their dresses shorter. A lady would not show their ankles. It was scandalous. It was considered slutty to even show your ankles. And here's a mother with child, and the kid looks like he or she is ready to run out the door. And boys wear dresses. Young boys wear dresses too. Here's a girl. She looks like a nice kid. And again, we have 1860s represented in these photos. Look at that gown. She's wearing this beautiful cape. And really, that's a cool pose. Look at that, a noble looking pose. And here we have a family, and that's really nice to see. So you have a little girl. Is that a little purse? A young girl posing with probably her mother and older sister. Very, very, very cool. And this video is going on for a very long time. I apologize. So we have two children here, and this picture is actually quite cool. Okay, so basically what the parents had to do to keep them still enough to take a picture was give the little girl on the right a riding crop. And that's what you would use to probably smack your horse on the buttocks. Or it could be a parasol handle. And on the right, this child is playing with a pocket watch on a chain, just to keep them busy enough for the picture. And here's a beautiful little child here. Very, very pretty little child. All right, and here we go, more 1860s ladies. And over here we have that beautiful gown again, bell-shaped. Look at the belt. Look how cinched in her waist was. And that was the style. The smaller the waist, the more clout you had back then. And they would actually wear these little belts around their waist to show how small their waist was. Very, very interesting. All right, so now we have another big 1860s Civil War era dress. Lady's wearing jet beads around her neck. And that was made out of black bogwood. Quite interesting. And she has her hair parted down the center, like they all did in the 1860s. And again, look at that gown. All right, so we have more ladies over here. So we have this lady posing, wearing her bell-shaped gown, hair parted in the center, which is, again, quite common. And over here we have another 1860s lady wearing a really fancy, fancy dress. Her hat is laying on the side as she's leaning on the chair. That is really quite interesting. And now we have, this is probably an 1870s photo. You can see the skirt is more narrow. And she has a different type of hat on her head that was more popular in the 1870s. And she has her husband or loved one next to her. Quite cool. And then we have an 1870s or 1860s gentleman here. It's hard to tell with the men precisely when the photo was taken, but probably around that time frame. Now we have 1860s photos again. And we have, again, the bell-shaped dress. Look at the buttons. Oh, my God. Imagine having all those buttons on a dress. That would be really, really annoying. But they did it. And this is a really cool pose. I like this one a lot. Look at that. And she has a Grecian urn next to her. And she looks like she's thinking, like she's almost contemplating something. And again, there's that cool dress. All right, so we have a gentleman over here. This is a cool pose. Look at that. And he's wearing knee breech pants. And there's a plant next to him on a stand. Could be some kind of flowers. And he's wearing, I think, a bowler's hat. Is that a bowler's hat? I don't know. But he looks really like a badass. He was probably a tough guy back then. Now we have this lady wearing this beautiful bell gown, again, 1860s. And look at that hat. It's a bonnet with a big headdress hanging down. And that is pretty cool. All right, so we have more pictures. We have another gentleman with a top hat showing off his wealth. And by the way, those top hats, if you find antique top hats, they're worth quite a bit of money. They go for big bucks. And he's wearing gloves, I think. Is he? What does he have in his hand? I can't even tell. And here he is. He's actually smiling, which is a rarity. And this lady is probably from the late 1860s going into the 1870s. Her hair is more elaborate. But actually, nope. That is the 1860s. That is an 1860s hairstyle. And look, she's wearing a cross around her neck. with a choker style necklace. Very, very cool. All right, so now we have a child over here. Doesn't look too happy. And look at this lady. Look at her gown. Holy cow. Look how wide that is. And she's wearing a bonnet, showing that she's an older woman. And it's like a frilly, frilly bonnet. Look at that. And that's what you would call a handsome lady. I'm not insulting anybody, but that's what you would call that. All right, so we got a man. He looks, pretty rich, pretty wealthy. He has his top hat next to him, his book, showing off the fact that he can read and write. And that he was, much more wealthier than most people. And educated. And here's probably his wife wearing this big, beautiful gown. That's quite cool. And she's wearing a bonnet without the ties under it. Actually, nope. It's a headdress. So she's wearing a little headdress. Really cool. And that's definitely 1860s all the way. All right, so now we're noticing the dress is getting more narrow, less bell-shaped. But it's still the 1860s, probably towards the end. And we have this young girl here, hair parted down the center. We have these sartouche braids, I believe they call that, those little designs. And that was very popular in the 1860s. So we have this big, beautiful gown again. Pretty lady posing. And are those flowers colored to the left of her? Yes. And so she paid extra to have that done in the picture. That is quite cool. All right, we have more ladies. We have this big, beautiful gown, leaning on a chair. I think that's a headdress on top of her head. I can't tell, because I'm looking through my cell phone right now at these pictures with you. All right, so we have another 1860s photograph. And the kid's actually smiling. That's really, really nice. That gown. But a smiling kid is always nice to see. And we're almost through this book, so here we go. Another child. Wow, look at that hair. And I think she's holding a doll. I can't even tell. Is that a doll? Well, she's holding something on her lap. Is it a doll with a missing head? Oh my goodness. This kid looks very mischievous, right? Like a little rabble-rouser. All right, so we have another big, big, big bell-shaped gown. And a younger girl, because her hair is down. She's probably about 16, 17 maybe 15. She's wearing a big cross around her neck. Quite interesting. All right, so now we have another lady with this big, beautiful gown of the 1860s. She has what looks to be some kind of a black bogwood or ebony wood chain necklace around her neck. Hair with ringlets on the side, parted down the center. Very cool. And we have this beautiful child. And I'm trying to guess if this is the 1870s because of the way the hair is on top. Possibly. Of course, we're getting to the end of the book, so the decades might have moved on. So there we go. Here's what the back of one of these cards look like. And we have, by special appointment, photographer to the Queen. These people may have been related because we had that one lady that was Lady Bentinck, I believe the name was, that was related to Queen Victoria. So it appears that these people were all related to Queen Victoria. These could have been relatives. Very, very, very interesting book. And thanks for watching another one of my videos. And I'll see you guys all soon. So long.